Hello, and thank you for watching this regional update for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nuytrien Ag Solutions. We'll start with the satellite picture here as the sun starts to come up on Monday morning. We've got another storm system coming up over the top of the ridge, moving through primarily northern portions of the Prairie provinces as we head through the next 24 to 36 hours, but plenty of cloud cover across the Prairie. Looks like maybe far southeastern Saskatchewan, somewhat in southwestern Manitoba, waking up to some blue skies and some sunshine this morning, but a lot of clouds across the Prairie and some precipitation starting to make its way in across western areas. I would imagine there's probably some snowflakes starting to fall in the Grand Prairie area this Monday morning, and then it's also possible we could see some snow showers making their way through the Medicine Hat area up to Saskatoon and then across the rest of southwestern Saskatchewan as we head through the rest of the morning here. Any accumulation there should be very minor. Accumulating snow here over the next 5 days should be generally north of the ag belt here, north of the Prairie. Now, as we look at temperatures this morning, again, the coldest air in North America locked in across southern portions of the Prairie down into the central Rockies of the United States. Minus 10, minus 15 as you make your way from Highway 16 south to the U.S. border across central and southern Saskatchewan. A bit warmer as you make your way off to the west. Edmonton, 0 degrees, but minus 9 as you make your way down to Medicine Hat. So closer to the U.S. border and then closer into central portions of the Prairie. That's where you'll find the coldest air over the next day or two. Temperatures will warm slightly as we head into the end of the week. Probably just going to get back to more seasonally appropriate levels, but when we're coming from 10 to 20 degrees colder than average, getting back to where we should be here in late October and early November is going to feel quite nice. Now, precipitation again over the next 5 days, most of it going to be north of the Prairie unless you head back toward kind of northwestern portions of the ag belt here, back toward the Peace River region, Grand Prairie, Edmonton. Better chances for some accumulating snow as we head through the next 5 days. Showing you the next week, the precipitation anomaly on the left, total precip, and then on the right we've got the next 5 days of total accumulated snowfall from the European ensemble model. And again, much of the ag belt here going to be on the drier side. The opportunities for some light precip, some light showers, maybe a few flurries here, but you got to head north of Highway 16 if you want to get into the accumulating stuff. That's where we're talking about anywhere from 5 to 15 centimeters of snow, again, from northern Alberta over into central portions of Saskatchewan, along and north generally of Highway 16. Here's the next 5 days, total precipitation, again, from the ensemble plot, just showing you where it is going to be active. Again, we will have an active jet stream coming up over the top of our ridge in the Pacific. A lot of that moisture, that Pacific moisture being wrung out by the Rockies here across much of British Columbia. Those systems then eject across the Prairie and produce a little bit of light precip. Again, snow on the order of 5 to 10 millimeters across northern portions of Alberta and Saskatchewan. And then we've got a ton of moisture down here across portions of the Gulf Coast. We've got a hurricane coming up and our cutoff low ejecting here across the southern plains into the central plains. So a couple areas that is active, coastal portions of western Canada, and then down across the central and eastern portions, or southern and eastern portions of the United States. Now here's the jet stream pattern as we get started, very amplified. We've got our big ridge in the Gulf of Alaska over the Pacific, trying to make its way into western Canada. Here's our big trough, which is cutting off here across the Four Corners regions across the central U.S. So again, highly amplified pattern. What I mean by that is very wavy pattern. This is where we get our extremes. A lot of cold air being brought down from the Arctic, again into the Prairie, into the central Rockies. A lot of warm air being brought northward into the Gulf of Alaska, trying to make its way into, again, far western portions of Canada. So where are we headed? We're amplified now. Well, as we head through the rest of the week into next weekend, the jet stream pattern is going to relax a little bit. What I mean by relax is we're going to see more zonal flow. We'll still have storm systems embedded within this, with this pattern, bringing periodic cool shots of air and periodic chances for some light precipitation. But we're not talking about extreme amplified flow bringing in, bitterly cold air to the region. So again, a flatter jet stream pattern, a more zonal jet stream pattern is a quieter and more steady jet stream pattern for us here across North America. So by the time we make it to the weekend here, Friday into Saturday, we're talking about a jet stream pattern that has little waves embedded within it, but is much more zonal, much more east to west in nature. So again, a zonal pattern. A flatter jet stream is a calmer, or at least more stable jet stream pattern here. So temperatures, again, as we get started, you see these very deep blue colors, the green, the purple shading. That's where we're talking about temperatures anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees colder than average. But as we take this to the end of the week, into the weekend, and we still got, it's not as if everyone's showing white colors here. We're not all at average, but the anomalously warm or cold areas are a little bit more muted as we head into the weekend and next week. So we're still heading into winter. It's still late October into early November here across the prairies. But certainly seasonally appropriate temperatures for this time of year, much better than what we saw over the last week. So let's take a look at the precipitation forecast then. I mentioned much of this is going to be north of Highway 16. We've got our first system making its way out right now. As we get into the overnight hours, this is what things should look like. And then as we get into Tuesday morning, as the sun comes up, we should be seeing some pretty heavy snowfall across generally the northern half of Saskatchewan, we'll call it. So some in the prairie, picking up some snow tomorrow. This will continue to make its way off to the southeast, with some of the snow possibly making its way into central and southern Manitoba as we get to later parts of the day on Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. So this thing ejects with some of the heavier snow falling up here, starts to lose out of steam, but does bring some light snow likely all the way down to the U.S. border in Manitoba by Tuesday evening. As we head through the period on Wednesday, this front kind of stalls out across the region. It's possible we could see some light showers, some light flurry activity, but generally dry conditions expected Wednesday into Thursday. As we get closer to the weekend, Friday into Saturday, we see our next storm system eject from British Columbia. As we get closer to this one, with our Wednesday update, we can take a look at some of the more specific precipitation amounts here. With this one, once again, taking its snow north of Highway 16. A chance for some flurries possibly on the south end here across part of the prairies here south of Highway 16, but that's much more uncertain and likely to be much more lighter. Now, what is likely is that we'll see some colder air coming in on the back side of this system before potentially another storm comes in as we get into the end of the weekend and early next week. So again, flatter flow, but still storm systems embedded within that. They're going to bring chances for precipitation and will at times disrupt our temperatures here, with some areas tapping into potentially some warm air advection in advance of these, and then cooler air coming in on the backside. So the overall pattern lingers, and I would still advise caution with any kind of advertised long-term lasting warm-up across the prairies. So side by side, we have the next, precipitation through Saturday, and then snowfall through Saturday on the right. And again, much of it off to the north. Especially this little corridor right here, this is our late week system, Friday into Saturday. So we'll talk more about what that's really going to look like with our Wednesday update. We get a little bit closer, but as you just focus in on the primary ag belt here across the Canadian prairie, we're talking about opportunities for precipitation, but much of that should be lighter in nature. Here's the swath that comes in with the system over the next 24 hours, by the way. This is the one that comes in during the day Tuesday, potentially bringing some snow accumulation into central portions of Saskatchewan, down into far southeastern Saskatchewan, additionally into central and southern Manitoba. So Winnipeg, potentially seeing some flakes tomorrow. The Brandon area, potentially some snowflakes there all the way up to Regina and Saskatoon. But any accumulation, or I should say accumulation, is not likely, and any accumulation that did happen should be light. We'll finish with a look at your temperatures then. Again, Calgary, we will warm back up. Temperatures between 5 to 8 degrees above freezing as we head through the rest of the week. Edmonton, here's a look at those temperatures again. A flatter jet stream flow is a quieter jet stream pattern. How about the same high temperature being forecast here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Edmonton? Saskatoon, here's your next 10 days. Regina, and then here is Winnipeg. And if you noticed a constant theme within those, it is a return to seasonally appropriate temperatures, some volatility within there, but notice still being advertised a big cool down as we trend back into next week. I hope you had a great weekend and you're having a wonderful start to your week. I'll be back to talk to you about the Canadian Prairie on Wednesday.